Hello everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having an amazing day, happy Saturday, and a wonderful weekend to you. If you're new to the channel, not a financial advisor, hope you can learn something here today. We're going to take a look at Bitcoin, of course, and understand best practice and big picture, kind of to see what's going on here, if we're going to continue a downtrend or if there's possibilities of the price coming back up again. We're kind of at that fault line right now where we just kind of make or break, and we just gotta kind of get back on track. And unfortunately, the last few days have not been so favorable. All right, so again, we're going to take a look at that and a few other things as well. But all in all, just try to keep a positive mindset and be open to both sides. You got to understand that there's bears and bulls, and the price could go up or down at any given time. And it's best not to attach yourself to a specific direction, at least in the sense of being kind of blindsided by the potential turnaround. All right, so again, we'll just look at everything there, unbiased, hopefully to help you understand big picture. All right, now, if you are new to the channel, welcome. Thanks again for joining me here. CryptoCache.tech is the website. Link in the description below if you want to become a better trader. I have a Signal group, trading community, and trading academy. Really awesome experience, over 300 members presently, and I'll be happy to look forward to working with you there. Hope you have a good one. In that regard, we'll go ahead and talk about Bitcoin here. So here's kind of what's going on. Simply put, we had some strong momentum roughly 3 days ago to try to test and push through 50 on the RSI. That never happened. And unfortunately, the price came back down and got rejected off of 50. So it kind of reaffirms the fact that the 50-day SMA, as well as 42,000, is essentially a strong resistance level. We also see the inverse apply too in a lot of ways, whereas the price action will not come any lower than 39,500. Technically, we get some candle wicks down to 39.1, 39.2, somewhere in that range, but generally speaking, the price doesn't want to come below 39,000. So for the moment, it feels like we're range bound between 39 and 42, and there's a possibility we might see this type of behavior for a little while longer until the price breaks either up or down. Because here's part of that big picture understanding and helping you understand that there's a few different schools of thought here. First of all, this ascending pattern is ascending. It's going to continue to increase until it doesn't. We're right at that point right now where the price could essentially come back down, so that might actually be null and void here soon if the price comes down. Another thing to factor in too is the fact that the price is coming down here, and when you have a starting point where the price comes down, it'll likely break to the downside eventually. It's referred to as a bear flag, and oftentimes when it starts again at the top and comes down, its inevitability is to continue to go down. That's a potential reality we need to face. Now, again, that being said, the signs aren't there just yet. They're starting to get closer, of course, as we continue to test this trend line and potentially even break the trend. If we continue to channel sideways for the next week, we'll likely be breaking that trend line. There's probably no doubt that we won't. But on the same accord, we still have some key level supports. As long as we still continue to maintain higher lows, I think we're in good shape. And what I mean by that is if we look at the the price action here, again, 30, 35, 37, 38, and now 39.5 roughly. That continuation is a healthy higher low pattern. Okay, so as long as our next low isn't lower than this here, right around 37.5, we should be in pretty good shape. Okay, again, heaven forbid we break the trend line, which is almost inevitable at this point based on the channel that we're locked into. We could see that happen. Now, keep in mind too, there's a tremendous amount of volume just above and just below the current price action, right? So it's creating that channel that we're stuck into for the moment. So again, we're gonna need some kind of strong catalyst to break through 42,000, but it's also gonna take a lot, I feel, to break down 39,000 too, because I mean, if you think about it, every time the price comes down to 39, yes, the more often you test a support level, the likely it is to break. There's truth in that. But it's also showing us that there's an unwillingness to want to go any lower, and there's a tremendous amount of volume accumulation at that price point. If we look back out further, just say roughly last year and a half, 2 years, you can see once again, 32 upwards of 38,000 has the most volume accumulation. We have a tremendous shelf right here. So once again, the likelihood of the price going below that is pretty low. I do feel that there is potential in the big picture, of course, to break that, but it's going to take a while to get there. Okay, we got to get to the low 30s to be able to truly have to know that this is going to be a potential reality. Okay, So that's just kind of a big picture look, so to speak, and just something to kind of reiterate there, in case you're not already familiar with some of those things I've been talking about for a while. So again, that's kind of the rough estimate there on the daily. Looking at the obvious stuff, of course, we didn't get a MACD convergence. In fact, we kind of got a reverse bounce there, more of a divergence. Obviously, we saw that rejection off 42. We rejected off of 50 and the 50-day SMA. So RSI 50, 50-day SMA really just tells us that 42 is a really strong resistance, and if we can break it back above that, it would be very solid, very nice. But I wouldn't anticipate that happening in the immediate future. We'd need to test that a few more times. Okay, or maybe we just break right through, because a recent test might have been enough. We tested it 2 days in a row and still nothing, right? But you could also say the inverse as well. We're testing 39,000 a couple days in a row here also, at least very close to it. And there's likelihood to break to the downside too. So honestly, it really could go either way at this point. We're kind of in this little turning point where Bitcoin needs to successfully remove its head from its ass and continue higher, or continue to maintain its current scenario there, pucker that bad boy up and just keep on going down. Right? Again, there's a lot of different scenarios, but generally speaking, we kind of have this tentative indecision for the moment. And it's going to be interesting. This week is kind of a make or break week here for Bitcoin in a lot of ways as far as the overall trend, because once again we break down from this trend line, there is potential for it to continue breaking lower based on the fact that we have that massive bear flag pattern on the daily, and I believe it might even be on the weekly. Regardless of that fact, that's kind of where we're at there for the 1 day. Look at the 4 hour here though. We are rejecting off of 50 on the SMA as well, which is not favorable, of course. Granted, that was a pretty ridiculous little situation where the price came down and continued lower. Hasn't even retested that yet, but generally speaking, that is essentially what we're looking at here. So what we need, and here's a slight positive, we are making higher lows in a small way, right? If we look at that, this technically isn't lower than this, which is nice. The fact that it isn't lower is helpful. But once again, we're still kind of at the ground level, the ground floor, and that's not really advantageous at all. So with us being underneath both moving averages on the daily and the 4 hour, we've got a tremendous amount of resistance right now, holding the price action in place, and or potentially pushing it lower. Okay, so we can't rule that out. We also have a potential MACD convergence perhaps in the next few days, based on the simple fact that we see the momentum losing, but that doesn't necessarily mean much at all. I mean, this is a weekend momentum, which doesn't really give us any indication whatsoever. We've known weekends to be very poor in progress. So in that sense, with the low volume, etc., really we're not going to see too much until probably late Sunday night, tomorrow evening, or Monday when the Eastern Hemisphere opens and starts trading. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at there on the 4 hour, kind of more so, as I like to say, fair to Midland. I wouldn't say we're phenomenal, but we're not good either. Honestly, there's probably a little bit more negative than there is positive at this point. Again, unless you're reaching for straws, but generally speaking, there's an elephant in the room, and it wants to come and it wants to break 39,000. Okay, so we'll see what happens. But for now, let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of other things. Some positive here, of course. This is another silver lining. We have the conversion line intersecting with the baseline, which is pretty standard on weekends anyways, but generally speaking, that is telling us if you have a short position, you might want to close it, because that momentous trend has slowed down enough, whereas instead of coming over and then just dropping right back down, we didn't get one of these. Okay, we've got one of these so far, and until that breaks, this is telling us that we want to close our position if we have a short. Okay, conversion line's also coming closer to the baseline, which is also advantageous. It tells us that overall momentum is starting to dissipate, and that we can potentially experience an increase or reversal from here. Speaking of increase and or reversal, let's take a look at, let's go with TD sequential and kind of see how far down we came from below. So first of all, we hit a 9 on TD sequential. And as I've mentioned before, if you hit usually 2 9s in a row, it's oftentimes sign for reversal. Well, we didn't hit 2 9s in a row. We hit one solid 9 after an 8% decrease in 9 hours, by the way. And then the price went sideways and dropped off again to hit a 6. So while we didn't get a full-on 9 for the second decrease, the second decrease was egregious. And what we can do is we can kind of see here that there was a tremendous amount of volume but also a lot of volume here in this candlestick, kind of telling us that the bears are becoming exhausted. They tried to push the price down further and they couldn't. You can see they tried to do so previously, and the second time succeeded, but only to a small degree. So it looks like they tried to push the price down much further. There's a lot of volume resistance here. In other words, that 39,000 shelf essentially coming into place where, as soon as we see a price point in the threes, essentially, the 30,000s, even if it's 39.5, then there's a lot of buying pressure almost instantly. Okay. So again, the fact of the matter is we're under 40,000. Yes, that's true. But generally speaking, that is a positive here in the sense of seeing all this volume right there at that turning point. So all in all, again, not dire straits on the short term. It's just that this is being a weekend. This is not the greatest barometer for understanding specifically the direction in which we're going to head next. We need traditional trading to be in place to be able to provide that volume that we need. Because again, weekend volume is proven to be very poor just based on the fact that it's just an average layman consumer like you and I that is investing instead of larger whales, so to speak, retail investors that can actually move and manipulate the market. Truth is, we're in their world, okay? We got to learn to deal with that. It's kind of like Jurassic Park, where you got these little dinosaurs running around, but the Tyrannosaurus Rex is just wreaking havoc, right? Well, there's a lot of T-Rexes in the industry right now, and we're all just running around hoping for the best. We're probably those people that are trying to run from the dinosaurs. Either way, I watched Jurassic Park recently. I don't know if you can tell, but cool movie. Definitely check out that series if you get a chance. You'll understand the analogy. Regardless of that fact, Bitcoin on the short term is not in dire straits, but macro not looking phenomenal. We really need to have a definitive move, either up or down soon, to really understand where we're at. Because this trend line will continue to maintain itself until it doesn't, right? And the truth here is that it's still holding, but it's barely holding. Once more, just to reiterate, if we break this trend line, the sky is not falling, but we need to reevaluate and understand as long as the price stays above 37,500, I think we'll still be in good shape overall, based on the fact that we're not making lower lows yet, right? Until we break that trend, I think that's the one we want to pay attention to the most. But this trend line here is still slightly holding. We're right on the edge. So we'll see here soon. But based on the overall sense here, if you look at the history and how it's kind of always decreased before it increases, we could very well be subject and ready to do that. Right? I think that we're primed and ready for the price to take off this week, but a few things need to happen. I think breaking 42 would be a solid start. All right. Well, I hope you found benefit and this made sense to you. If so, comment below, all that good stuff. If you want to become a better trader, CryptoCache.tech, I have a trading academy, community, and signal group where I show you how to trade, how to structure your trades effectively. You can one-click follow if you'd like. But more importantly, that trading academy, I've got a lot of feedback on that, and it's really positive. So check that out in your own time. Sorry for the dog. I think he sees another dog walking by. Happens all the time. All right. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.